What's up, everybody? Welcome to the FLAFFL House Fantasy Football Podcast. That was almost a professional intro. I haven't done that in a long time. But we
I
had
don't think
seven.
you've done that ever, based
No,
on that
probably-
definition.
Yeah, don't describe yourself as professional. That's just
fairly accurate. I can't really argue with that. We do have some people actually watching us on the YouTube feed, so
hi
that's cool.
everybody.
I figured I'd try. What's up, everybody in YouTube land? We are back. We're a little delayed this week. One of our co-hosts has been dealing with some literal fires. So
Yes.
Steve had some fires to put out. How's everything going, Steve? Is the town safe?
The town is still here. I don't know if anyone's heard, but yes, the crazy California wildfires. I am a resident of Redding, California. I've lived here my entire life. So yeah, the last few days were a little intense, but everything seems to be moving away, moving the opposite direction. So we are out of imminent danger, and we are back here podcasting, doing what's important.
That's right. Let me ask you this: Do you guys give shelter to the homeless that normally hang out in the parking lot when there's fires, or is it what happens there?
Listen, I don't want to go down this road. There are evacuation centers that are open, and they are being utilized by all.
Because I don't know if you've listened. For those of you who have heard this before, Steve has a little beef with the people that use the outlets on the outside of the building. So
yes,
they frequently use his electricity, and he does not like it.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
Sal, you had a pretty interesting weekend as well. We've all seen some of the, for lack of a better word, mugshots from the fantasy footballers New York episode. So
Why you assuming we all got arrested because we're in New York?
I didn't assume anybody got arrested. Clearly, Jake did not get arrested. Jake at NFL Draft Talker, because he was on that disgusting casting couch. Has he been tested yet?
I left that. I posted that picture in private. I don't even know if Jake knows that picture exists yet.
Oh, good. Great.
And last I knew, Jake was swimming with friends and family and enjoying the summer today. So we'll hold off on that picture. But at some point, that picture is going to surface with Jake's friends and coworkers. But we had a fantastic time. The fantasy footballers, who we know are basically, it's who we all aspire to be when it comes to podcasting for fantasy, because these guys are living the life right now. As Matthew Berry, who appeared that night, said, I get to work for ESPN. These guys started their show in a garage, and they are touring the country, and they're doing New York, Philadelphia, Minnesota. They're going back home to Arizona to do the last show. What a tremendous show. I mean, they come out. Mike's like a rock star. You guys got to imagine, right? He comes out there. He's all tatted up. He's playing to the crowd, high-fiving everybody. But they were fantastic. They put on a wonderful show. We all got to meet them after the show. They were very gracious, a lot of fun. And I got to meet some great people from the fantasy industry. Sam and Bobby from the Afterburners podcast, which, by the way, no joke, we're sitting in a bar, Kevin, and Ring of Fire comes on.
Of course.
The two of them sitting there. I'm like, how appropriate is this?
That's great.
Dynasty Outhouse, Mike Hoff from the FF Face Off. Of course, Jake Anderson, NFL Draft Talker from Dynasty Crossroads. Derek, the FFRX, he did make it there from Canada. We didn't get to spend as much time with him because he's there with all his friends.
I can't believe they let Canadians in.
It's
crazy.
He passed it off pretty well. He looked very American.
Oh, good.
Came across very American. Great, just an overall fun night. Great group of guys, and I look forward to when we get to go out on tour.
So, Bobby,
next summer,
right? Yeah, next summer. Yeah, right. Bobby's actually in the chat right now, and he's suggesting that you may have broke something, Sal. He said you didn't get arrested, but you broke something.
I did. Never try to pick a glass up with a closed fist. It doesn't work.
Why? That's good advice. That is a life lesson for people right there.
They literally put a glass in front of me. I was not even looking at it, went to pick it up, just punched it. It fell, it smashed. and that was fairly early on, believe it or not. So
hopefully it was empty.
It was completely full. It was just put down in front.
See, that's just awful.
It was water.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard it was water.
All right. From what I understand, that's good if it's water. I was going to say, I hear beers in New York run like $20, so you don't want to spill one of those.
I'm going to recommend that place, the Radgast Beer Garden in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The bartender, after serving us food and drinks for about 3 hours, came over and said, I got to settle up, and just randomly gave us a number off the top of his head. And it was nowhere near what we actually spent. So cheers to that guy. We gave him a great tip.
Fantastic. Nothing like free drinks. I was gonna start the podcast off with something else, but I figured we had to start with your stories from New York. I did want to ask you though, or at least mention the Fantasy Life app. The guys who were on the podathon, I'm sure, for those of you who listen, they were in the second hour of the podathon. They came on, Yasin and Stacy, to talk about the improvements they were making, and they're back. They've been released, and it's working smoothly, and everything's running well. Sal, we're back in.
Yeah. I was in there a lot today, answering a lot of questions on the main page. It was good to be back. As we all know, FLAFFL stands for Fantasy Life App Fantasy Football Leagues. It's where we were born. It's where we were created. It's where we all met. And we have a great loyalty to them, to the app. And it's good to see that a lot of the things are smoothed out. And they are ranked 15th in the App Store amongst all sports apps, which is amazing. They're one spot behind Bleacher Report, which every sports fan has Bleacher Report in their phone. So that must mean every sport fan now has FLAFFL House. Yeah, right. Fantasy Life App.
Hey, listen, everyone has FLAFFL House. There's no question.
So, great. Congratulations to them. We all know it's a Matthew vehicle Matthew, I can't even speak.
Wow, what is happening to you?
It's a Matthew Berry product. And
you just lost a viewer, by the way.
And yeah, well, when I start fumbling and mumbling and I'm sweating and I'm bald, it's very uncomfortable for people. But yeah, Fantasy Life app, it's back. It's better than ever. Download, get on there, follow us, get in the chat, ask questions, tag us, and that's it.
Yeah, the FLAFFL House chat. Obviously, we've done a lot of work over the years trying to build and grow. We get a lot of good people plus Tony that answer questions, and it's a great place to go on Sunday mornings. We all know Sunday mornings in there get a little nutty with the questions, but tag any one of us at Wally Central, at South 33, and at Sid Skeet, and you will we'll try to get you back with an answer pretty quickly. So it's a great place to ask questions, post polls, all of that stuff.
Hey, Kevin, I see you have a very full agenda tonight. There's no way we're getting through all this stuff.
Absolutely not.
But real quick, and we don't even have to get too far into it. There's a great thing going on right now called the Fantasy Football Summit that Bob Harris at Football Diehard on Twitter is running, and it is free to watch. If you pay the $18 fee, you get to go back and watch any one of the sessions at any time you want forever. So that's the benefit of paying that fee. Plus, you get a few memberships to a couple of sites. So check that out. Look on Bob's Twitter. It's day 3 tomorrow. There's 4 more days left, I believe, or maybe 3 more days left. And it's 4 hours a night of the top fantasy industry analysts just talking fantasy and topics. And it's amazing. I had a great time watching today, and I just want to highly recommend it.
I like your promos. I mean, you need a little work on the promo. You can't start off by saying it's completely free, but pay the $18 because it's worth it.
It's free.
Just
if you go in there and you watch for 4 hours a night, it's completely free. You never can come back and watch them again. What I'm saying is, there for $18, there's a lot of benefits. You're going to get every ounce of what's being displayed if you watch it live for free. But for a mere $18. You could save a child's life. No, that's the wrong promo.
That's the wrong promo.
All right, let's get into some football. People are
we started camps this week, so we definitely have some football on the agenda, which we're never going to get through. We're going to try and answer some questions from the Fantasy Life app since it is back and better than ever. We're going to do that a little later in the program, but we're going to start off with some news. And Steve, I want to ask you about this one to start off the bat because you put it on there. And you use capital letters, even though it's last. Andrew Luck is on fire, you
put him on fire. Was he in Redding, California?
That's right. That's
a joke in poor taste. It's really terrible.
He is at training camp. He is throwing NFL regulation-sized footballs. He is throwing spirals. And I saw a tweet today saying that he is on fire, completing 4 passes in a row. One of them deep to T.Y. Hilton. And, I was very skeptical about a month ago whether or not he was going to be back. But I've completely turned around. This
guy.
Yeah, for years straight now, you've been on that wagon. So you get to take that one down a little bit. All right,
Steve,
you don't get to claim.
Oh, come on! You cannot knock me on this one. You know that I have been saying
Kevin's
Andrew Luck
been
is
on
going
the
to be fine
wagon.
this
Yeah,
year.
I understand. Yeah, he's for over a year now. He's been on that wagon.
Kevin's the guy who was spotting him when he's lifting all the weights to get jacked up.
That's it.
He does
Steve,
look
you
jacked
didn't
up.
see the last report that Andrew Luck was 19 out of 22 today and 12 out of 14 and 11 on 11. So he was
Look
even
at that.
more on fire than you thought.
So I am all in on Andrew Luck now. I am taking him where I can get him, everywhere. And the window is closed in Dynasty. That's absolutely sure. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that he's going to be back. The Colts are better. Their offense is better. Everything is better when he's playing. T.Y. Hilton is good. I've got him on my Scott Fishbowl team. So yeah, I'm happy. This is making me happy.
They will have a better offensive line.
Much better.
Their offense all around is just going to be a very good offense again this year. I still worry about the running game, which hurts Andrew Luck a little bit, only because you got to have some semblance of balance, and I don't know that they're going to, because I'm not a Marlon Mack fan.
Oh, here we go.
I know you guys both are. Look, I don't believe in him. I don't know that he's really that special, and I think that, maybe it'll be serviceable enough between the guys that they do have, but I think they're going to throw a lot, because I think the defense still needs a lot of improvement. They have, some good drafts that they've had the last couple of years, but they're still a little ways off from having a solid defense. It's the Colts; they always will, right? They'll always be a little ways off from having a solid defense. But I'm back. You're right, Steve. I'm back in. Not back. I am all in on Andrew Luck, because I have been all in. Whatever. Sal gave me the.
Ha ha.
Shouldn't have made fun of you, Sal. But yeah, Andrew Luck, I'm sold on him. Sal, are you back on the wagon?
Well, I've been on the wagon. I bought Andrew Luck in the auction for Pigs 3. So I spent up a premium, because he still wasn't cheap when there was still doubt about him. So I've been agreeing with you all along, Kevin, for this year, that Andrew Luck will be back. He went over to Europe, I think, and they injected him with some funny stuff, and that always works for me. I mean, anytime you can get free drugs overseas.
It's all on the improved substance list, I'm sure. Yeah. All right, well, let's continue on then. Carson Wentz is a guy that you've been pretty high on, Sal, I think, if I remember correctly. He's practicing in full pads. Looks like he's taking hits. He took a hit to the knee, apparently, in practice.
Who didn't get cut immediately after that happened? I didn't see that. I mean, that guy, I would have dragged him off by his face mask. Oh, my goodness.
Apparently, Wentz was fine. But I guess I want to ask you this. Is he a QB1 this year?
So I was a big Wentz guy last year. He was part of the FLAFFL 16-team championship. Hello, that I won, and he was also. For that? I don't. Steve sucks. He was also on my FLAFFL Assholes Dynasty League team, and that was when he got hurt. I didn't have the backup that I had in the redraft, which was Cam Newton. So it definitely hurt my season. So I was very high on him. I thought he was a great buy last year in dynasties, but I was hesitant this year because. And I'm talking redraft, because of Foles being there and Foles just having a great playoff run, winning the MVP of the Super Bowl, and the Eagles knowing, okay, we don't have to rush this guy back. This is their future. Foles will be gone most likely after this year. Carson Wentz is the future, so I was worried about them not wanting to rush him back. All signs in practice look like he's going to be ready to play week 1. If he plays week 1, he's fully healthy to play week 1. I don't see a reason why he would not be a QB1 this year. He made the leap. I don't think he'll have the touchdown, rate that he was going for last year, but he's still going to be a QB1.
Steve, QB1?
I think he'll be right on the edge there. For everything that Sal just said, we saw that he definitely has the talent, but then I think with this injury, the Eagles might try to pull back a little bit. They won't necessarily want him. You can't change your entire offense. You can't prevent the type of hits that quarterbacks take, but they can run the ball a little bit more. They can try and get a little more tricky with their offense. I think that the production level that he was at, I think, is a little unsustainable. Like Sal says, the touchdown rate he might not be able to replicate that, but he's definitely going to be right on that fringe. I could see him as right around hovering that QB 10 range. I still think some QBs from last year are going to creep back up into that top 10 range. But yeah, I still think he's right there. I don't see why not.
He had 33 touchdowns last year in 13 games, which was more than double his previous year, which was obviously his rookie year, but he played 16 games. That's insane. That will definitely not continue. I don't think they want that to continue. I don't think they want to throw that much. They've got like 18 running backs on the roster. So I think they're going to try and dial it down a little bit with him as far as the amount of times that he passed the ball. He threw it 440 times in those 13 games last year as well. So I think they're going to try and take that a little out of his hands. I also don't think they're going to be having him run the ball. And I know that most of his runs were scrambles, but I think they're going to really try to tell him, stay in the pocket, take the sack if you have to, throw the ball away, do whatever you got to do. Don't go out running as often as you did, because I don't think they want him to subject him to that. So his value will come down a little bit. I think he's definitely, I'm with you, Steve. I think he's fringe QB1. I think I could see 11, 12, 13, somewhere in that range. So I'm with you guys on that one. Let's move along to a name that we heard about a lot last year, and then it just sort of fizzled, Steve, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Matthew Breida from the 49ers appears to be the best running back in camp after they paid all kinds of money to Jerick McKinnon. I personally am not a huge Jerick McKinnon fan. I think that the offense in general in San Francisco's being highly overrated. I think that people are overrating the status of that contract that they gave McKinnon. So, and I've never been impressed with McKinnon as a runner. Great attributes, can do it here and there, but I don't think he's a full-time guy. Steve, what are your thoughts on this news about Breida and as it relates to McKinnon, who's being drafted like second, third round in some cases?
Yeah, can I not like either of those things? Can I not be happy with McKinnon, with where he's being drafted and everything that you said about the hype surrounding him and how he's just automatically going to be this fantasy god? And can I also not believe that Matt Breida is impressing to the point where he's going to overtake Jerick McKinnon? Can both of those things be true at the same time?
They can be. They're certainly not mutually exclusive. However, I would ask you this. Let's say it's not necessarily to take over as the lead back, but to split more carries and see it as more of a timeshare, I think is where that was going.
Yeah, and I could absolutely see that happening because I'm in the same camp as you are. I don't necessarily see Jerick McKinnon as a 3-down workhorse back where he's going to get all of the opportunity and all of the production there for that offense. I think they were going to have to bring someone in or have someone on the roster that was going to take some of that work away that they can move in and out. And I think Matt Breida, what we saw last year and what we're hearing so far, definitely is tops on the list to be that guy to take that work. So, yeah, I mean, the more he does, the more that they're going to have to put him on the field, which, of course, is going to cut into opportunity for Jerick McKinnon. So, yeah, definitely someone that's investing in McKinnon needs to pay attention to this. But it seems like the people that love him so much that they don't care. They're going to, spend that 3rd-round draft pick or 4th-round draft pick on him and take him no matter what. And it won't be me.
We spoke about this a couple episodes back that McKinnon is no longer a value, right? McKinnon would have been great if you were getting him in the 5th and 6th round, but now do you have to take him up there as like a top 12 to top 15 running back? There's no more value left on that, because what if he does just McKinnon it up? You know what I mean? Like we spoke at length before about not beating out Asiata and other mediocre running backs in Minnesota. So,
Adrian Peterson.
Oh, stop. I had an offer today to trade for Matt Breida. I would have made the trade, but what was being asked was a little too much for what I wanted to give for him, because I do have McKinnon, and this is in the assholes league that we are in together, Dynasty League. Matt Breida has been a guy who's been impressive there since he's got there. We've heard good things about him. So I do think that he'll play a role in that offense. I do think it'll probably be similar to what Latavius Murray and McKinnon did together last year when Cook went out. Like that type of thing. And I think both guys will be fantasy relevant, and McKinnon will be the better of the two, most likely, because of the pass catching and because they are going to try to use him as the focal point in the backfield. But I think Breida will do enough in deeper leagues to be a flex-worthy type of player as the season goes on.
It's, our buddy Tony is in the chat for the YouTube channel, and he's stating that the Breida is going to be a poor man's Tevin Coleman. There's one thing that I want to keep saying out there is I think it's dangerous to assume that this San Francisco offense is going to look exactly like the Atlanta Falcons offense.
Pierre Garçon equals Julio Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just they don't have the same level of talent on either the skill positions or the offensive line. We don't know for a fact whether Jimmy Garoppolo is as good as Matt Ryan. And I know a lot of people are down on Matt Ryan in general, but we've seen 5 games from Jimmy Garoppolo, 6.5 if you want to count his time in New England. And yeah, he's been very good, but he's also thrown, interceptions and not a lot of touchdowns. So everyone needs to take a step back and think about the fact that it's a different team, and it's not necessarily, you can't just plug and play McKinnon as Devonta Freeman and Breda as Coleman and Pierre Garçon as or Trent Taylor or whoever else you're talking about. By the way, they're just not going to be Julio Jones. But
by the way, Tony was the one who offered me Breda today.
Of course, of course. So speaking of Julio Jones, though, Sal, and I'm going to ask you this because Steve is obviously biased, but it appears they're moving Demaryius Thomas around quite a bit in the Denver offense, a la Julio Jones in Atlanta, where he's playing from the slot more. He's kind of lined up all over the field. Do you think that Demaryius Thomas's value this year is, well, I guess since we're in draft season, we're starting draft season right now, is it really, really good? And is he going to be, have a huge bounce back year? I know that I'm pretty high on him this year because I think that Case Keenum's a guy that will be able to get him the ball. So,
yeah, for me, Demaryius Thomas, and I've said this in years past, and I think it was even last year, but he didn't have the quarterback play. Demaryius Thomas is a guy who's exhibited top flight fantasy wide receiver ability when he's had a good, capable quarterback. This guy's had top 5 fantasy seasons, right? And I appreciate you, Kevin, being very bad in one of the leagues that you traded me Demaryius Thomas in the offseason way back. So I have him this year in the Power Hungry Dynasty, and I thank you for that. Yeah, I think that the value you're getting him at, his ADP now is such a good value. This is like a league winner, right? This is a guy who you could draft as a wide receiver 2 right now, who has probably the best wide receiver 1 upside of that group of guys because he's done it before. He does have a capable quarterback now, a guy who sustained 2 top flight fantasy wide receivers last year in Minnesota. So I love Demaryius. I love the value. And if I can get him, as like wide receiver 17 to 20 this year, I'm gobbling that up all day.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And a lot of it is also because of, Denver's defense in the past has been so good that it almost puts a cap on their fantasy numbers for offense because, they eventually could stop throwing the ball. Last year, we saw that their defense definitely started to take a hit. This year has happened even more. They've lost a few more players. And so now having an offense that is able to run with a more competent quarterback, everyone stays healthy. I think that their offense is in for a good fantasy year all the way around. And their value is basically they don't, Demaryius Thomas is the one that's going the highest. He's going in the 4th round. Everyone else you can get later than that on that entire team. So I think Denver offense as a whole is going to be a great fantasy value throughout each position.
Steve, sticking with the Denver offense, who's the running back to own in the group?
I think for the season, I would definitely want it to be, I think it's going to be Royce Freeman. I think if you're going to start, I think they'll give Devontae Booker the first opportunity to go through the first few weeks and see what he can do. But I think ultimately it'll be Royce Freeman. The reports coming out is that he's definitely looked like a guy that could be a 3-down workhorse back. I know Brad Evans is a big fan of his, and he's saying that he's looking really good. So I think that by the end of the year, he's going to be the one that you want. But, for any kind of DFS purposes or anything like that, best balls on the draft app or anything, for week 1, it's going to be a Devontae Booker. But definitely for season long, Royce Freeman is the one who I'm going to put my eggs in that basket.
For Dynasty, I'm taking Royce Freeman, right? But I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that backfield early in my redrafts this year. I'm going to see which guy falls later. And if I have, room, I'll grab whichever one's there because I just don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. Let's say Booker comes out and performs early, and they don't want to mess with that chemistry. You never know. So for redraft this year, Denver backfield is not one I'm touching anywhere, probably in the first 8 rounds.
Yeah, I don't know what the ADP is on those guys right now, but I don't think you have to go that high either, right? I mean, maybe people are taking Freeman a little higher because of the rookie bump that everyone likes, shiny new toys and all of that kind of thing. But I think you get Booker pretty late. I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him if you're in that late round range, the 10th round or whatever. Why not? He's like Steve said, he's going to get a first shot at it. I think their offensive line is going to be better than it was last year. Hopefully, forget it, blanking on the tackle's name. Hopefully he makes it through a whole season this year, and they've added a couple Bowles, and they've added a couple other pieces, so should be improved with Case Keenum at quarterback. That should hopefully allow them to throw a little bit better, which usually opens lanes for running backs as well. So again, I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on Booker because I think you can get him later. I'm with you, Sal. I'm not touching Freeman. I think he's probably going a little too high for me. So, all right, let's shift gears here and talk about the Miami Dolphins. I laugh a little bit because this is just a team that I think their defense is going to be absolute garbage for one, but that could lead to an offense that has to score a lot to keep up. I don't know if they will. We don't know about Ryan Tannehill and how he's going to be after coming off the injury. Obviously, we've seen weapons like Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker not really pan out yet. Although Parker's still young, some people are thinking this could be the year for him again. Landry's gone. But the guy I want to ask about is Mike Gesicki, because he's apparently doing all they've asked him to in camp, and he looks good from all indications. So I guess I'll lead the question this way, Steve. Is he the tight end one for the rookies this year? Is he top rookie tight end?
I would think so. I think he's got the most playmaking ability. He was drafted as the athletic tight end, as the Evan Ingram type. The other guys that were drafted and that look to be in line for a starting role this year, a guy like Hayden Hurst, who Baltimore has said good things that he's on pace to be their starting and, their pass catching tight end. They also drafted Mark Andrews out of Oklahoma. But yeah, I think if you're taking a rookie tight end, if you're looking to try to get somebody late that's going to replicate that Evan Ingram type of season, not saying that he's going to match that, it definitely is going to be Mike Gesicki. And we've seen what Adam Gase has done with tight ends in his past. I believe he was either the head coach or the offensive coordinator for Denver when Julius Thomas had his huge breakout season. And so if he can get that type of production out of him, then he's going to be a great fantasy value. He's going right now as, right around the tight end 23 area in the 15th round. So basically at the very end of your draft, being picked right behind Eric Ebron. So I think that if they use him correctly, if they don't try to make him an inline blocking tight end and they allow him to use his athleticism, I think he is absolutely the rookie tight end that you're going to want throughout. He's got a chance to touch that back end of the tight end one range.
Sal, did you hear that? Steve called Mike Tannehill Peyton Manning. You hear that? He said he's just like
Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, you called him Mike Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, sorry.
He's thinking of Mike Tannenbaum, I think, from the old. Who's in Miami also? Is it Tannenbaum down in Miami? But Steve, so quick question for you: you've waited too long for a tight end, and the two tight ends staring you are Ebron and Gesicki. Who are you taking as your tight end one in fantasy this year?
As my tight end one? Well, first I've got to question. I got to question a lot of prior choices for waiting this long to take my tight end one.
I asked the question that you waited too long. There was so much other great RB and wide receiver value that you couldn't reach for the tight end at that point, and now you're faced with Ebron or Gesicki.
I'll tell you right now.
I'll take Gesicki for the season.
Oh, you are a fool. Go ahead, Kevin.
I'll tell you right now. The answer is neither. You take Ricky Seals-Jones and you call it a day.
Where's Jake Butt?
And Jake Butt's way back there, undrafted. I'll take him over all of them.
I'm just surprised that Steve didn't go towards the Baltimore tight ends. I mean, you got two to choose from that they drafted this year, and you loved yourself some Baltimore.
He loves himself some Baltimore tight ends. That is a fact.
You have had a Baltimore tight end high up in the rankings every year since I've known you.
Pigs 3. I've got Hayden Hurst on my team. That's not an accident.
Oh man! All right, let's keep moving along here. And Sal, we'll ask you about this one since it's from your neck of the woods. Sam Darnold's holding out right now. Apparently, it is contract language. My guess is that usually means offset language that they can't figure out. So he's not in camp. He's a guy that there's options there in New York with everyone saying that Teddy Bridgewater looks okay and Josh McCown is 100 years old but still playing, and but you want your rookie in camp. So what's the word down there, and what's going to happen? Is this really setting him back?
It's definitely setting him back. It would set back any rookie quarterback, right? So if there was any hope of him starting the season as the quarterback, it's waning right now because the word is waning. For some reason, I went waning.
It is definitely waning.
And
They're weaning him off
Yeah.
football. Apparently,
The word is waning, but for some reason,
definitely waning.
So it's definitely a disappointment. I'm a Darnold fan. I would like to have seen him in camp. I'm not a Jet fan, but I do root for the two New York teams when they're on. I don't root against them. But the language barrier that they're up against, Kevin, is he wants assurances, or he wants to take the language taken out of the contract that if he gets injured doing something outside of football, like skiing or playing basketball, that his money is still guaranteed. And that is the legitimate language holdup that you're hearing about right now. So it's kind of ridiculous. Anybody from New York knows that, and our current manager of the New York Yankees, Aaron Boone, that the year after he hit that home run against the Red Sox, he tore his knee playing basketball in the offseason. Yankees violated they ripped up his contract because he violated the contract, and he was released from the team, and that's how Alex Rodriguez came into play. But he's trying to get that language removed from his contract in case something like that happens, which is stupid because you should be, as a rookie, dedicated to the team and willing to say, I will not do any of that stuff outside of there. So this leaves the door open for, in my opinion, Teddy Bridgewater, because I've heard good things about Teddy, and I think that right now that's the leader in the clubhouse to probably start as the quarterback this year.
So if that is the language, and that's I certainly believe you. My question is, like, I'd like to see how that's worded, and this is from me, enjoying contract language, sadly enough. But I'd like to see how it's worded because, you're right. What if it's something that he can't control? Like, is it only sports that he's doing outside? Like you said, like skiing, basketball. I get those things, right? But like, what if people like to go skiing with their families when they're on break. You know what I mean? Like,
but when people invest millions of dollars in you, they have the right, I guess.
What if he gets in a car accident? You can't control that.
No car accident.
How is that? But that's what I mean. But that's an off-field injury.
If he's racing, then maybe there's
that's what I'm saying. My point is, how does the contract get worded? Because if you're in an accidental situation,
activities that would cause him an injury. I haven't seen the contract. This is what I've heard. So
I don't understand what the hang up is. I would love to be offered millions of dollars to not do anything while I'm not working. That sounds like a dream. No one else is enticed by that.
They're kind of
like, you're not allowed to do a goddamn thing.
You've been training for it your whole life.
That's right.
Literally been working on that forever. They should definitely. And Sal, why are they not running this contract language by you? I mean, I can't believe you haven't seen it yet.
I'm like, hey, how you doing? Let's sit down. Let's get
let me broker this thing for you.
Sam, you're a California kid, right? This is New York. Sign the contract. Shut your mouth. Stay off the ski hills. All right, let's go.
Just put the skis away, huh? All right. That's it for the news that I got. Unless you guys have some other stuff that you want to bring up, I'm sure there's plenty out there to talk about right now.
We got plenty of questions.
We got plenty of questions. So we will go back into the Fantasy Life app and we will ask ourselves some questions directly from the users. This is in the Fantasy Life, the Falafel chat in the Fantasy Life app. There's a post in there. And again, great app. Go in there for
great
anything. Whatever, literally anything at all. Let's start off with @MindFreakFF. He has the number 7 spot in a 12-man PPR where he starts 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. I'm assuming this is a single quarterback. He wants to know, and Sal, let's start with you. What's the optimal draft spot? He's got number 7, but he wants to know, where do you like to be in those 12-man PPRs?
Yeah, so pretty much in any of the drafts this year, I'm happy to get a top 4 pick because I feel like the depth at running back is running out a lot quicker this year than it is at wide receiver. So I want to be top 4 because I want to get one of the 4 running backs, Bell, Gurley, DJ, or Zeke, whichever one falls to me, 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on how you have them ranked. That's where I want to be. This is a 1 RB league, start 1 RB. So you probably could go somewhere different and get a Freeman or a Gordon with your second pick, maybe. But for me, generally this year, I want one of the top 4 picks.
So normally, if it wasn't a 1 RB league, I would actually disagree with you because I would want something in the 8 to 12 range so I can still get one of those guys that falls a little bit. Maybe you get lucky and Kamara falls down to 8 or something like that. And then that way on your next pick, You're not waiting so long, so you're getting 2 running backs, and I would take the 2 running backs because of that depth issue, right? But where this is only a start 1, I'm with you, top 4 all the way, because I want one of those studs to start in that position.
Now, here's a question. Why wouldn't you want to go down a little bit more and that way you're able to add a quarter or one of the top wide receivers, since it's a 2 wide receiver league, and then also still be able to add a guy? You know, this guy says he's drafting from the 7 spot. So it's completely possible that he starts with a DeAndre Hopkins and then a Dalvin Cook. Is that not a nice start for a PPR league where you only have to start 1 running back?
Yeah, I think it's
definitely
a good
start.
Nice start. In a 1 RB league, Steve, yeah, and Kevin and I have the same perspective on 2 different types of leagues. With the I want one of those 4 guys in a 2 RB league for myself, because I think they're clearly head and shoulders over the rest. I think that's a big tier drop off. Obviously, I know what Kamara did last year, and we'll get to Kamara because there's another question about him, but I'm not as high on him as most this year. So,
with the way the running backs are going this year, you're probably looking at, I don't know, if you're talking the top 24 picks, right? So you're going to pick at 1, let's say, and you're going to pick at 24. With the way the running backs are going this year, you're still going to get a pretty good wide receiver at that 24th pick. So sure. I would, if you, or even more so, if you have like the 3rd pick and you can get yourself David Johnson, and then come back around and, in the 22nd pick or whatever it is, and get maybe like a Michael Thomas, that's a great start. So
and you might not get Michael Thomas. He's going in around overall 15, but you could definitely get a Mike Evans and a Devontae Adams or an AJ Green.
Mike Evans dropping like an anchor to the bottom of the ocean.
So amazing. Love it.
All right, this should be a pretty easy one. At least it is for me. At Pivot wants to know Gurley or Bell. Steve, go.
Le'Veon Bell for me. I'll take Le'Veon Bell.
You're so stupid.
Le'Veon Bell. I'll take it.
It's Gurley for me, only because the Bell holdout, and that worries me. Even with all the information about the top running back never repeating the following year and always dropping in touchdowns, I think Gurley focused on that offense will definitely be the one I would choose.
It's funny, I've seen a lot of people saying that Gurley's going to take a step back this year because the offense is very crowded now. It's not any more crowded this year than it was last year, really, to be quite honest with you. And on top of that, what do you think is there in Pittsburgh? Do you think Bell has nothing to compete with? He's the best wide receiver in the league on his team. So, I'm not that worried about it. Gurley for me, just because he's safer. I can see Bell, with injuries and with the holdout and things like that. It's just a risk thing for me. If you have the number 1 pick, I'm going Gurley over Bell all day. All right, let's keep going. At D. Bealby has a 14-team standard, 1 keeper. He's taking Hunt in the 3rd round with his keeper. So 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 1 tight end, defense, and a kicker. He has pick number 4. He wants to know, who should he target with that number 4th pick? These are the guys that he expects to be there. Saquon Barkley, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Leonard Fournette, and Melvin Gordon Sal. So
did he type incorrectly, because it doesn't list how many running backs he needs?
It's 1 running back. I just looked.
Yeah, it's a 1 running back. That's my bad for not typing.
So this is another 1 running back. So in that case, he has Hunt already as a 3rd. I mean, boy, it'd be hard for me to pass up on Saquon here, because there is a flex position that you could start Saquon as your starter and put Hunt in their flex. And I'm Saquon over Hunt this year. I'm Saquon as my 5th running back this year, by the way, after the top 4. Looking at the rest of these guys, boy, if OBJ was there, I would say take OBJ, because I'm OBJ over everybody but AB this year. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley.
Steve?
I'm stuck between Saquon and Hopkins. Again, it's the 2 wide receivers. He's already got Hunt there to take up that 1 running back starting spot. He's got him in a 3rd round value, which is great in a 14-team league. The wide receivers, being that they are 2 wide receiver mandatory start in a 14-team deeper league, I will probably lean towards DeAndre Hopkins there, but it is close. I wouldn't have a problem with him going Saquon as well.
Yeah, I could see Saquon for sure, but I would definitely lean either Hopkins or Julio for me. And Hopkins is probably the guy I go with, just because I think the upside's there. Julio's been so steady, but the touchdowns are so erratic. And while I think he's going to bounce back with touchdowns this year,
He's going to have 12 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, I don't know if he's getting 1,400 yards this year, though. So I don't know. I'm really torn between Julio and Hopkins there. I like Saquon obviously a lot, but with Hunt already on a one running back team, I think you got to go with one of those receivers because you're not going to get one of those top flight guys in a 14-team league after all the keepers if you don't take him with that pick. So I'll probably lean Hopkins, but I'm cool with Julio as well. I threw this one in there, even though I'm sure you guys won't really let me talk about it. But at Nick Tar wants to know, what about Lockett this year?
What not about Lockett?
Lockett's phenomenal. Listen, I'm curious though. Do you guys not see the opportunity there this year? For one, and I get it. Whatever I've talked about him for 3 years, and it hasn't panned out now, so I get that. But his value this year is so much better because he's basically free.
Listen, he's healthy, and we know what he can do. He was an excellent kick returner last year, even and he obviously has the athletic ability. The window of opportunity is more open this year with other guys leaving. So I don't hate him this year. Mostly when I talk about him, it's mostly just to needle you a little bit.
Right.
So if I could get him towards the end of a draft, which is probably where, I don't know what his ADP is, Kevin, but I'm sure he's not going very high. I think Lockett is a very good 4th to 5th wide receiver flyer in redraft this year.
Wide receiver 59 right now, so he's not going to cost too much. One behind Cameron Meredith. Who'd you rather have, Cameron Meredith or Tyler Lockett?
I think Kevin better even say Cameron Meredith. I'm going to smack him through the TV.
Yeah. Although, I mean, the knee injury.
Cameron Meredith is free, everybody. Free fantasy advice. Take him.
Cameron Meredith, it makes me a little nervous coming off the knee injury, although he's practicing and he, avoided the pup. So it's fine, So, yes, I would go Cameron Meredith. All right, let's keep moving along. At Sliss, my name, we're going to go with. He's got a few questions, so we'll hit these rapid fire, and the first one's pretty easy. Guys, live or online draft, what's your preference?
Live draft easily. Not everybody could get together in a live draft, but with the technology like Google Hangouts, we've managed to do it in multiple drafts over the last few years. You could still be live, insulting each other in somewhat digital person. So live all the way.
Yeah, live there's no question. Nothing beats a live draft if you can do it. Kamara at number 1, can the case be made, Steve?
It can be made. You have to believe that he's going to do exactly what he did last year, plus a little bit more. And so I'm not going to die on that hill. I think that he is definitely a top 10 running back this year, but not taking him at number 1. Too many other guys that I feel I can depend on their volume a little bit more. And I'm not taking him number 1.
Sal, Kelsey, is there a value drop coming this year or a production drop coming this year?
I don't understand why there would be, This guy is
I see it coming. It's coming.
I've been loud and clear that he's my number 1 tight end for not just this year, going back to last year. My number 1 tight end over Gronk.
You're very wrong.
Gronk is who Gronk is, but the injury, overhang of Gronk is always there. So no, not at all. And especially with Mahomes coming in, if Mahomes is Brett Favre, then let Kelsey be Mark Chamara.
Oh, dear Lord.
So Mahomes is Brett Favre now. That's great.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's compared him to, Steve.
A guy we've never seen play.
That's what everybody's compared him to. I mean, he played in college, for God's sake.
Steve, Jay Ajayi, is he in for a big year?
That is one of the harder things to try and come up with an answer for, because there are so many running backs in Philadelphia right now. You have to be, pleased with his reps that he got throughout last year in Philadelphia. When he got there, he seemed to get more and more work as the season went on, but he does also have an injury thing hanging over his head a little bit. And it's so crowded back there that you don't know what game script is going to determine for these running backs. Darren Sproles is still there. Corey Clement, all these guys is just, it's too hard. I am not, just like you guys are avoiding Denver's backfield, I'm avoiding this backfield altogether this year. Give me Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz and maybe some Alshon Jeffrey and Matt Collins, of course. I'm going to avoid the backfield.
Sal, what about Blunt?
If this was a touchdown only league, I would say draft him. I don't like the
There's
Detroit
value
backfield.
there, though, right? I
There's
mean,
value there, but there's just too many people involved at this point. So for me, hopefully I'm playing in PPR and I'm taking Theo Riddick. Theo Riddick's the one running back I want in Detroit. He's the one guy who's been consistent in Detroit. Kerryon Johnson, I know a lot of people are excited over. But I think there's going to be too many people involved. What you do have with Blunt is that Matt Patricia was in New England when Blunt had his best season. Obviously, they're on opposite sides of the ball, but he did go right out and get him when he got the head coaching job. So,
to counter that point, Matt Patricia is obviously from the New England coaching tree, and we all know how they treat running backs. So, all right. So, Steve, last one from Sliz My Name. Melvin Gordon, is it a make or break year for him?
I don't really understand the question in terms of he's kind of made it the last few years.
Yeah.
He's done pretty well. So I don't really know what you're worried about with him. I think that you can expect more of the same from Melvin Gordon, right between that running back, 6 and 10 range is where I would probably have him. So I would expect more of the same. I don't see any reason why his production would go down, why his volume would go down. So I'm still more than happy to take Melvin Gordon. I think he'll keep doing what he does.
Yeah, he will continue to be a very inefficient running back who gets a lot of touches and touchdowns. So,
there we go. I'll take it.
And I would
touchdowns count for 6 points.
That's right. Very good, Steve. In most leagues.
That's right.
At Jabroni wants to know the chances of Joe Mixon being a top 10 running back this year in PPR. We'll start with you, Sal.
I think that the chances are probably, I would say, just above 50-50. Kevin, I see you putting your thumbs down. I like Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon is going to get the opportunity to play
top 10.
So you're saying it's more likely than not that he's a top 10 running back?
I think there's a good, I bought into Joe Mixon this offseason in Dynasty and other leagues. And I'll give you, you people who are FF Baller fans.
What do you mean, you people?
That's racist, Sal.
Tuesday's episode will be Friday night's New York episode. And Joe Mixon was pick a guy who could likely finish number one at their position who's not being drafted anywhere near there. And Joe Mixon was the guy picked by, I think it was Andy Holloway. Might have been Jason Moore. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I think Joe Mixon has tremendous upside this year. I think he could definitely finish as a top 10 back.
Top 10?
That's what I said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's too high for me.
I cannot go top 10 at all. I think the chances
you don't see any scenario that he could finish top 10. The question is, what are the chances?
You said it was probable.
You said it was over 50%. I definitely can't do that.
I just said it.
Then more than likely.
How about 3%? That's what
I'm not denying.
You want a percentage? 3%. That's where I'm at. 3.
You suck eggs.
I do. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I can't see him. That offensive line is going to be a little better, but it's still not great. And we still have Andy Dalton, and I don't know that I trust the offense in general, or Marvin Lewis for that matter. So, no, I can't. No more than 3%. Let's move along here.
3%.
Wow. At Mr. 2013, Michael Thomas or Keenan Allen, Steve.
Now, this one's tough because I've seen a training camp video with Keenan Allen working on his footwork, and it looks really, really good. So I was going to go with him, but then today a training camp video came out of Michael Thomas breaking someone's ankles, running a route and catching the ball. And so I thought that maybe he might be the better choice. These guys are close. I'm going to lean Michael Thomas. It is. I mean, they are right there. They're probably going to be back-to-back for each other with me and for wide receivers. I'm a big Keenan Allen fan, but I'm going to go with Michael Thomas here. But it is, you can't go wrong with either one.
So your analysis is based on what video came out today?
It's just basically the latest.
My analysis is based on training camp videos that I'm seeing on Twitter right now.
Hold on.
If you want to be,
Cox is on my TV right now. He's the best defensive player in the league.
If you want to be Steve's wide receiver 1, just release a video the day the season starts.
That's right.
You're good to go.
It would be Michael Thomas for me.
Yes.
Also, though.
I think I might go Keenan Allen just because I think the volume's going to be there for sure for him. Not that I think Michael Thomas really has that much of a chance of dipping. Again, they're neck and neck for me as well. But I can see a scenario where they spread the ball around a little bit more. Cameron Meredith, for example, in New Orleans, and Keenan Allen's still the man in San Diego or Los Angeles, in my opinion, considering we don't know what Mike Williams is, and there's no Hunter Henry or Antonio Gates for that matter.
The rumors are flowing.
They're flowing, but he's not there yet. We'll see. We'll see. So, all right. Mr. 2013 also wants to know about Sony Michel or Royce Freeman, Sal.
So it's going to be crazy for me to say the reason I take Sony Michel is because the possibility of a committee in Denver, because there's always a committee in New England. But I think Sony Michel is the better player of the two, and I think that he will get an earlier shot at the touches, and I think he's just an overall better running back. So I'm going to take Sony Michel.
That's close for me. I would probably lean Sony Michel as well, based on just about everything that Sal said. I think he's got more of an opportunity to take that role, to take it earlier. But I would also rely on Denver more, that if Royce Freeman were to secure that job, for him to have more week-to-week comfort in terms of what you might actually get out of them. But who knows? Everyone keeps saying, New England never takes the running back this early. They're going to use him, blah, 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 blah. I'll believe it when I see it. And I don't know if I'm willing to take that chance during the draft to see what happens with that.
It's Sony Michel, hands down, and Steve, you're an idiot.
I traded Rex Burkhead in a dynasty league this week's, Kevin, because I believe in Sony Michel. And
so Rex Burkhead will be a goal line back for me in this year. I think that's sort of what you're going to see. You see him in short yardage, just see him in goal line situations, and I think he'll probably he'll get a handful of carries outside of that. But Sony Michel will, mark my words, I still believe he will get over 200 carries.
Not if he keeps fumbling.
Do you want to know what I got back for Rex Burkhead?
I don't.
Des Bryant?
It was the only league that I didn't have Michael Robertson. So I got $75 on Michael Roberts.
Awesome.
So I will go off script here with a question that FLAFFL HR actually asked and wanted me to bring up here. And for those of you who don't know, FLAFFL HR is my wife. She rarely goes in the chat, but she does ask questions from time to time. And she wants to know, who is the guy that is on your roster the most? What is your highest owned share? I'm assuming, Sal, Michael Roberts.
I own him in every single dynasty league I play in. So
what about give me the second guy then, because no one needs to know about Michael Roberts.
In dynasty leagues, it's probably got to be Julio Jones. I would say
mine is not surprisingly Jamal Williams.
What a shock, yeah. And mine also, not surprisingly, is Dante Moncrief. He is on all of my rosters. Sony Michel probably is very close, if not higher than him in share percentage, actually, at this point. So
I feel like the people should appreciate that we, at the very least, we die on the hills that we preach.
There's no question about that. If we like people, we stick with them. Although I think we've all abandoned Treadwell at this point and Dotson.
Yeah,
Dotson. I just dropped Treadwell in the FLAFFL Dynasty not too long ago. I had to make room for somebody else. Which, insanely enough, I own Adrian Peterson still in that league. So
of course you
don't ask me why.
All right, can you trust Darius Geis as a running back too, Sal? From Mr. At BD Duff.
I want Kevin to answer this one as well.
All right, Kevin, why don't you just go ahead and answer it first, Kevin?
I can start off. Yeah, I think you can trust Geis as a running back too. Hands down, no question about it. I mean, there's some risk there, right? We don't know what the offense is going to be. His draft stock was obviously a lot lower than we expected it to be. So there could be some issues there, although most people think that's a personality type thing. The talent is for him is unbelievable. I think that he can easily be a running back too. There's definitely a scenario where I can see him being ahead of Joe Mixon. I think that they have a great offensive line if everyone's healthy, and with Alex Smith coming in, I think they're going to be looking to run the ball, and I think that he will catch some passes. So while I'm a little, cautious about Geis, I think as a running back too, sure, absolutely. If you go heavy in, you start, like, for example, like we were talking about, you start your draft off with one of the big four, and then you hit wide receiver heavy a couple of rounds, and you get to, the fourth round and you need or another running back, 5th round maybe, Geis is a perfect option there.
If you get pre-injury Darius Geis, you're getting an absolute stud, right? Are you getting a guy who could legitimately be maybe just a little bit better than Joe Mixon? That was a joke. No, the guy could be a legitimate top 10 back.
No joke. He could finish higher than Joe Mixon.
No, he could be a legitimate top 10 back if all things go right. Chris Thompson's going to catch the ball there, on third downs, but I think he'll still got opportunities to be on the field for third down. He's clearly the early down back. Fat Rob and P. Ryan have done nothing to make you think they deserve another chance. P. Ryan had every opportunity alone last year to take over that backfield, and he didn't do it. As much as I liked them going into the season.
Was not a fan of P. Ryan. This is great.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's any value on P. Ryan this year. I just don't. This Geis is going to be the guy there. So
I mean, there's value because he's going in like the 15th round.
Yeah,
so,
but why
that high?
do it with them?
Why not? I mean, if you take Geis in the 5th round, why not take a flyer on P. Ryan in the 15th?
You Nad Cuffer.
All right. Finally, anybody have any thoughts on where Dez ends up, and does it even matter at this point?
Evidently, it's going to be Pittsburgh, isn't it?
I've heard more things about Cleveland as well too, which makes you wonder what's happening with Josh Gordon even more with his late scratch from training camp from him leaving. If he's dealing with his addiction as well, or is still, and wants to be away from this for right now, then good for him. If that's what he's got to do that, then all the best to him. But I don't know if I want Dez anywhere near any team, because he's just going to come in and screw up whatever values that we have on everybody at this point. I think the only place that he could go where he'd instantly be someone where you might think that he's got a path to volume and opportunity would be somewhere like Buffalo or maybe Baltimore. And you'd feel if that was the case, then those things would have happened already. So I'm not too interested in
smoke.
Yeah. I'm not too interested in Dez Bryant anymore this year. And I like what he's doing on Twitter these days.
I think that I don't think he would go to Buffalo, because I think he wants to play somewhere that could at least be a contender, right? Baltimore would be still a slim chance at that happening. And another place that's a slim chance for it to be happening would be Oakland, but it's a place where I could see, if a suspension comes down for Martavis Bryant, it's a place I could see him signing. But crazy enough, and we could go back to Scott Fishbowl, you guys watched Martavis Bryant drop in those drafts, right? Nothing has come of that ever since it's been brought up. The league has not even discussed suspend him or anything. There's a very good chance that Martavis Bryant dropped to ridiculous levels in drafts if you've already had them, and he's going to be an absolute steal if nothing comes of it, if that was just a rumor. But that's the one place nobody's really talked about, Oakland, that I think, based on a scenario, he could end up there. The Pittsburgh thing was more of Antonio Brown tweeted at him today, come here, let's eat, let's win. I think it would make an absolute mess in Pittsburgh. I don't think it's a good idea for the personalities in Pittsburgh. And Cleveland, it makes a mess in Cleveland too. It really does. There's too much going on in Cleveland. Some young guys that are looking for an opportunity, and I don't know. Nobody wants you, Dez.
I saw someone say that if he went to Pittsburgh, he'd be the 4th best wide receiver and the 5th passing option.
Yeah,
so something Kevin would say.
Yeah, smart people say things like that. That's it for us tonight. We have done all of the questions from the Fantasy Life app that we've gotten so far, but we continue to pour in questions on that post. We'll keep answering them in the chat if we see something, or as I said, you can tag us, Sal33, Wally Central, or Sid Skeet. Get us, hit us up on it with any questions you have, and we'll feel free to answer them. In the meantime, Steve, why don't you give me your final thought?
All right. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching this episode of the FLAFFL House Fantasy Football Podcast live on YouTube. This has been great that we've been doing the last couple of weeks. It's been a lot of fun. So happy to have you guys in here. You can check us out on Twitter at FLAFFL House. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And currently under construction is flafflhouse.com, but it will be back towards the start of the season. And you'll be able to find old episodes and any kind of current stuff that we are doing there. Kevin, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, we didn't tell the writers that we were coming back, but that's cool. Just announce it to everyone.
Oh man, that's bad.
Sorry, that's all right. Go ahead.
Just kidding. We're not doing anything with flafflhouse.com. Don't go there. Not a thing anymore.
It's still around. It's still up. You can still check it out. And for all you writers who hear this for the first time, welcome back, guys. You're rehired.
Before I get to my final thought, I'm up in a best ball draft on the draft app, and I have to pick. And the running backs
definitely have time for this.
The running backs, Kevin, in ADP order right now are Jerick McKinnon, Joe Mixon, and Jordan Howard.
That's not hard at all.
First of all, it's Jordan Howard.
So easily Jordan Howard, right?
Yeah,
not even a question.
I don't
not
understand
even a question.
that ADP boggles my mind. Anyway, as was posted on the FLAFFL House Twitter feed, there is an announcement coming involving this podcast on August 1st. So stay tuned for that. We look forward to doing some exciting things with the podcast coming up this season. Kevin?
It would be nice if we did something exciting at some point. It would be pretty cool. I just want to remind everyone to go ahead and add some charity to your fantasy playing experience, whether it's donating through fantasycares.net or going to play some of the fantasy football options that Scott has put together on that website, or just using one of your league dues to donate to charity, or getting your league mates together to go clean up a park or plant a tree or whatever it is you feel like you can do to help society. It'll certainly it'll bring your league together, and it'll make the experience a lot more enjoyable for you. So make sure you get out there and do that. We will be back next week, which actually won't even be a full week away. I believe we're scheduled to be back
this week,
Wednesday, if I'm correct. Wednesday?
Thursday.
No, it's Thursday.
Thursday would be the day, and we'll probably.
No, it's Wednesday. Kevin, show up.
I'll show up on Wednesday. We'll probably be doing another YouTube live for that as well. So we'll get that information out there.
We have a guest.
We have a guest. It should be a pretty good guest. It should be a pretty good show. Until then, Steve, why don't you go ahead and hit that button?